Welcome back to another episode of True Crime Untold Cases. I'm your host, Harper Quinn. In September 1988, 19-year-old Tara Calico left for a bike ride along New Mexico State Road 47, a route she'd taken countless times before. She promised her mother she'd be home by noon. When she didn't return, all they found were scattered pieces of her broken Walkman and mysterious tire tracks. But it was what surfaced 9 months later, a haunting Polaroid photograph discovered in a Florida parking lot, that would transform this missing persons case into one of America's most baffling unsolved mysteries. Let's dive into the disappearance of Tara Calico. On the morning of September 20th, 1988, 19-year-old Tara Calico left her home in Valencia County, New Mexico, for what should have been a routine bike ride along New Mexico State Road 47. She promised her mother she'd be back by noon, setting in motion one of the most perplexing missing persons cases in American history. Tara was known for her daily cycling routine. She would regularly ride her pink Huffy mountain bike along the same 20-mile route, often listening to her favorite Boston cassette on her Sony Walkman. Her mother, Patty Dole, had expressed concerns about these solo rides, especially after someone in a light-colored pickup truck had apparently been following Tara on previous occasions. But Tara, strong-willed and athletic, had brushed off these concerns, though she did make a deal with her mother. If she wasn't home by noon, something was wrong, and her mother should come looking for her. That morning started like any other in the small community of Belen, New Mexico. The sun was already warming the desert landscape as Tara set out at 9:30 a.m. She was wearing white tennis shoes, white shorts, a white and green striped shirt, and was carrying her pink Sony Walkman. The route she chose was familiar, a stretch of highway she'd traveled countless times before. When noon came and went without Tara's return, Patty Dole knew something was terribly wrong. She got in her car and began driving along State Road 47, searching for any sign of her daughter. What she and others would find along that route would only deepen the mystery of what happened to Tara Calico. Pieces of Tara's Sony Walkman were discovered scattered along the roadside. The Boston tape she had been listening to was broken and lying in fragments on the asphalt. But most significantly, investigators found what appeared to be tire tracks from Tara's pink Huffy mountain bike, showing signs that suggested she had been forced off the road. These tracks, along with the scattered pieces of the Walkman, painted a disturbing picture of a violent encounter. The initial search was extensive. Law enforcement officials, along with hundreds of volunteers from the community, combed the area. Helicopters swept the desert landscape, while ground teams searched on foot and horseback. But despite these efforts, Tara's bicycle was never found. This detail would become particularly significant as the investigation progressed, as it suggested that whoever was responsible for Tara's disappearance had the means to transport both her and the bicycle from the scene. Witnesses from that morning reported seeing a light-colored pickup truck following a female cyclist along State Road 47. This aligned with Tara's mother's earlier concerns about the suspicious vehicle that had been following her daughter on previous rides. However, despite these potential leads, investigators were unable to identify the truck or its driver. The case took an extraordinary turn in June 1989, 9 months after Tara's disappearance, when a disturbing Polaroid photograph was discovered in a parking lot outside a convenience store in Port St. Joe, Florida. The photo showed a young woman and a younger boy, both bound and gagged, lying on what appeared to be sheets and pillows. The woman in the photo bore a striking resemblance to Tara Calico. The discovery of this photograph sparked intense debate among investigators and family members. Tara's mother was convinced it was her daughter. She identified specific details, including a scar on the woman's leg that matched one Tara had received in a car accident. The woman in the photo also appeared to be lying next to a copy of V.C. Andrews' novel, My Sweet Audrina, which was one of Tara's favorite books. The boy in the photograph was thought by some to be Michael Henley, another New Mexico child who had gone missing in April 1988. However, this theory was later dismissed when Michael's remains were found in the Zuni Mountains in 1990, having apparently died from exposure after getting lost while on a camping trip with his father. The FBI's analysis of the Polaroid was inconclusive. While some experts believed the woman in the photo was indeed Tara Calico, others weren't convinced. The photograph's origin remained a mystery despite extensive investigation. The person who discovered it in the Florida parking lot reported seeing a white Toyota cargo van with a man driving, but this lead, like many others in the case, led nowhere. As the investigation continued, more Polaroid photographs surfaced. In 1989, a woman in Montecito, California, found a Polaroid showing a young woman's face with tape covering her mouth. Another photograph was reportedly found near a residential construction site in Albuquerque, showing a woman's face with her eyes closed. However, none of these subsequent photographs could be definitively linked to Tara's case, and some investigators questioned their authenticity. The disappearance of Tara Calico sparked numerous theories over the years. Some believed she had been abducted by local teenagers who had been known to harass cyclists along that stretch of road. Others suggested she might have been the victim of a serial predator passing through the area. The presence of the suspicious pickup truck led some to believe she had been stalked and targeted specifically. Law enforcement officials worked tirelessly in the early stages of the investigation, conducting hundreds of interviews and following up on countless leads. The case attracted national attention, featured on television shows like Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted. But despite this exposure and the efforts of investigators, solid answers remained elusive. In 2008, 20 years after Tara's disappearance, Valencia County Sheriff Rene Rivera announced that he believed he knew what had happened to Tara. According to Rivera, he had received information suggesting that Tara had been killed in a hit-and-run accident involving local teenagers. He believed that the teenagers, panicking after the accident, had disposed of both Tara's body and her bicycle. However, Rivera never made any arrests, and no physical evidence was ever found to support this theory. The case has continued to haunt both law enforcement and the local community. Tara's mother, Patty Dole, never gave up hope of finding answers about what happened to her daughter. She kept the same phone number for decades, hoping Tara might try to contact her. Sadly, Patty passed away in 2006, never knowing the truth about what happened to her daughter. The impact of the Polaroid photographs on the investigation cannot be overstated. They not only reignited public interest in the case, but also sparked a series of intensive forensic analyses. The FBI's photographic specialists spent countless hours examining the original Florida parking lot photo, paying particular attention to details that might provide clues about where it was taken. They noted that the space appeared to be confined, possibly the interior of a van or mobile home, and the lighting suggested it was taken in natural daylight. One detail that particularly intrigued investigators was the presence of a distinct vertical line or seam visible on the wall behind the subjects in the photograph. This architectural feature led some to speculate that the photo might have been taken in a specific type of mobile home or camper van popular in the late 1980s. However, attempts to match this detail to particular vehicle models proved inconclusive. The investigation also focused heavily on the book visible in the photograph. The copy of My Sweet Audrina wasn't just significant because it was one of Tara's favorite novels. The specific edition visible in the photo had been released in 1987, confirming that the photograph couldn't have been taken before Tara's disappearance. This detail helped validate the possibility that the photo was genuine and contemporaneous with the case. In 2019, the case took another turn when the FBI officially classified Tara's disappearance as a homicide. This reclassification came after new witnesses came forward with information about potential suspects in the Valencia County area. While the specifics of this new information weren't made public, sources close to the investigation indicated that it corroborated aspects of Sheriff Rivera's 2008 theory about local teenagers being involved. Further investigation revealed that on the morning of Tara's disappearance, several witnesses had reported hearing screams coming from the vicinity of State Road 47. At the time, these reports weren't immediately connected to Tara's case, but later analysis of the timeline suggested they could have coincided with her abduction. One witness, who came forward years later, described hearing what sounded like a female screaming and the squeal of tires between 10 and 10:30 a.m. that morning. The physical evidence found at the scene has been repeatedly re-examined using modern forensic techniques. The tire tracks discovered near where Tara's Walkman was found showed distinctive patterns that suggested a vehicle had suddenly swerved onto the shoulder of the road. Analysis of these tracks indicated they were consistent with a light truck or van, supporting the witnesses' accounts of the suspicious pickup truck. The scattered pieces of the Walkman told their own story. The device wasn't simply dropped, it had been forcefully broken, with pieces spread over a distance of approximately 30 feet. Forensic analysis of the brake patterns suggested the damage was consistent with the Walkman being struck by or against a moving vehicle. This evidence supported the theory that Tara had been forcibly taken from her bike rather than voluntarily leaving the scene. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case remained the complete absence of Tara's pink Huffy mountain bike. Despite extensive searches of the surrounding area, including local waterways and abandoned mines, no trace of the bicycle was ever found. This detail became particularly significant when considering the logistics of the abduction. The perpetrator or perpetrators would have needed a vehicle large enough to transport both Tara and her bicycle, suggesting premeditation and planning rather than a crime of opportunity. In 2013, a former classmate of Tara's came forward with information about potential harassment she had experienced in the months leading up to her disappearance. According to this witness, Tara had mentioned being followed not just while cycling, but also while driving to and from her classes at the University of New Mexico's Valencia campus. However, she had never filed any official complaints, and no documentation of these incidents existed in law enforcement records. The case has also been complicated by the emergence of various false leads and hoaxes over the years. Several individuals have claimed to be Tara, and numerous reported sightings have been investigated and dismissed. One particularly cruel hoax involved a woman who contacted Tara's family, claiming to have information about her whereabouts, only to be exposed as a fraud seeking attention. The discovery of additional Polaroid photographs in the years following Tara's disappearance created both hope and confusion. The Montecito photograph, found in 1989, showed particular promise as it depicted a young woman with similar features to Tara. However, forensic analysis of this photo proved inconclusive, and some investigators believed it might have been staged by someone familiar with the case. The photograph found at the Albuquerque construction site presented its own set of challenges. While it showed a woman who bore some resemblance to Tara, the quality of the image made positive identification impossible. The photograph had been partially damaged by exposure to the elements, and crucial details were obscured. Some investigators speculated that this photograph might have been planted specifically to mislead the investigation. The investigation into the Polaroid photographs led to an extensive analysis of photography trends and technology from the late 1980s. The specific type of Polaroid film used in the Florida parking lot photo was determined to be a variety that was manufactured between 1987 and 1989, further supporting the timeline of Tara's disappearance. Photography experts noted that the lighting and composition of the image suggested it was taken by someone with at least basic knowledge of photography, rather than being a hastily captured moment. Another significant aspect of the case that warranted deeper investigation was the pattern of suspicious vehicles reported in the area during the months leading up to Tara's disappearance. Multiple witnesses had reported seeing a light-colored pickup truck in the vicinity of State Road 47, not just following cyclists, but also parked in unusual locations along the route. One witness, who came forward in the mid-1990s, described seeing a similar vehicle parked near an abandoned ranch house, approximately 2 miles from where Tara's Walkman was found. The ranch house itself became a point of interest for investigators. Though it had been searched in the initial investigation, a more thorough examination in the 1990s revealed evidence that someone had been using the structure periodically. Investigators found remnants of food packaging dated from 1988, along with tire tracks matching the type of vehicle described by witnesses. However, no direct evidence linking the location to Tara's disappearance was ever found. The case also drew attention to other disappearances in New Mexico during the same time period. Between 1987 and 1989, 3 other young women vanished under similar circumstances in counties adjacent to Valencia. While investigators could never establish a definitive connection between these cases and Tara's disappearance, the pattern suggested the possibility of a serial predator operating in the area. One of these cases involved a 22-year-old woman who disappeared while jogging along a rural road just 40 miles from where Tara was last seen. Like Tara's case, witnesses reported seeing a light-colored pickup truck in the area. However, this victim's body was found 3 weeks later, while Tara's fate remained unknown. In 2015, a former law enforcement officer who had worked on the case in its early stages came forward with new information. According to this source, several pieces of evidence that might have been crucial to solving the case had been mishandled during the initial investigation. This included potential DNA evidence from the scattered pieces of the Walkman that was never properly analyzed due to technological limitations at the time. The officer's revelations led to a renewed examination of the physical evidence that remained in storage. Using advanced DNA testing techniques, investigators were able to isolate several partial DNA profiles from the Walkman fragments. While these profiles weren't complete enough to identify specific individuals, they confirmed the presence of at least 3 different people's DNA on the device, suggesting multiple individuals might have been involved in Tara's disappearance. The demographic profile of Valencia County in 1988 became another focus of investigation. The area had experienced significant population growth in the mid-1980s, with many new residents moving in from other states. This transient population made it difficult for investigators to track down potential witnesses years after the fact, as many had moved away from the area. Local law enforcement records from 1988 revealed several reports of harassment toward female cyclists in the months leading up to Tara's disappearance. These incidents had initially been treated as minor nuisances and weren't connected to her case until years later. 2 of these reports described a light-colored pickup truck with multiple male occupants who would drive alongside cyclists, attempting to force them off the road. The behavior of the perpetrator or perpetrators suggested a level of familiarity with the area. The route where Tara disappeared had several unmarked dirt roads leading off the main highway, many of which connected to remote locations that would have been ideal for concealing a crime. The fact that neither Tara's body nor her bicycle were ever found indicated that whoever was responsible knew the terrain well enough to effectively hide evidence. In 2020, advances in digital imaging technology allowed for enhanced analysis of the original Polaroid photograph found in Florida. This new examination revealed previously unnoticed details, including what appeared to be a reflection in a window or mirror visible in the background. While the reflection was too distorted to provide definitive information, it suggested the presence of another person in the room who wasn't visible in the main image. The case has continued to generate new leads and theories, with social media and true crime communities maintaining active interest in solving Tara's disappearance. Several online forums have compiled extensive timelines and analyzed satellite imagery of the area from the late 1980s, looking for potential locations where evidence might have been hidden. The impact of Tara's disappearance on the community of Valencia County has been long-lasting. The case led to significant changes in local law enforcement procedures, particularly in how missing persons cases are handled in the crucial first hours after a report is filed. The incident also sparked the creation of several community safety initiatives, including organized cycling groups and a volunteer patrol program along State Road 47. The legacy of Tara's disappearance has also influenced how law enforcement agencies across New Mexico handle evidence collection in missing persons cases. Following criticism of how certain aspects of Tara's case were handled, many departments implemented stricter protocols for preserving potential DNA evidence and maintaining chain of custody documentation. In 2021, a retired detective who had worked on the case revealed that several witnesses who had been initially hesitant to speak with law enforcement had come forward in recent years. One particularly interesting account came from a former gas station attendant who had been working along State Road 47 on the morning of Tara's disappearance. The attendant recalled seeing a light-colored pickup truck with 2 male occupants pass by the station twice within an hour, which aligned with the timeline of Tara's disappearance. Further investigation into the truck sightings revealed a pattern that hadn't been fully appreciated during the initial investigation. Multiple witnesses had reported seeing the same or similar vehicles in the area during the early morning hours in the weeks leading up to Tara's disappearance, suggesting that whoever was responsible might have been studying her routine and planning the abduction. The scattered pieces of Tara's Walkman continued to provide valuable clues years after their discovery. Modern forensic analysis of the plastic fragments revealed microscopic transfer patterns consistent with contact with a vehicle's tire or undercarriage. This evidence supported the theory that Tara had been struck or forced off her bike by a vehicle, rather than being grabbed and pulled into a vehicle as some had initially speculated. In 2022, investigators received an unexpected lead when a former resident of Valencia County contacted them about a conversation he had overheard in a local bar in late 1988. According to this witness, he had heard 2 young men discussing how to dispose of a bicycle in a way that it would never be found. While he hadn't connected this conversation to Tara's case at the time, the details he provided matched aspects of the investigation that hadn't been made public. The search for Tara's bicycle became a focal point of renewed investigation efforts. Investigators theorized that the location of the bicycle might lead them to Tara's remains, as the perpetrators would likely have disposed of both in the same general area. Using advanced ground-penetrating radar and other modern search technologies, several areas of interest were identified and searched, including abandoned wells and mine shafts that hadn't been thoroughly examined in the initial investigation. The Polaroid photographs continued to generate new leads and theories. A photo analyst who examined the original Florida parking lot photo in 2023 noted that the quality and composition of the image suggested it was taken by someone with photography experience. This detail led investigators to review records of photography students and professionals who had been in the Valencia County area in 1988, though this avenue of investigation has yet to yield concrete results. The case has also drawn attention to the broader issue of violence against women in rural areas. Statistics compiled in the years following Tara's disappearance showed a disturbing pattern of attacks on female joggers and cyclists in isolated areas across New Mexico. Several of these cases shared similarities with Tara's disappearance, though direct connections could never be established. Sheriff Rivera's 2008 theory about local teenagers being involved has continued to be a point of contention among investigators. While some evidence supports the possibility of multiple perpetrators, other aspects of the case, such as the carefully planned nature of the abduction and the subsequent Polaroid photographs, suggest a level of sophistication that seems at odds with the teenager theory. The involvement of the suspicious pickup truck has remained one of the most compelling aspects of the case. In recent years, investigators have used computer modeling to recreate the likely sequence of events based on witness accounts and physical evidence. These reconstructions suggest that the truck would have had to make multiple passes along State Road 47 to coordinate the abduction, indicating a high level of planning and premeditation. The psychological profile of the case has also evolved over time. Behavioral analysts who have studied the evidence believe the perpetrator or perpetrators likely had a connection to the local area and may have been familiar with Tara's routine. The taking of the Polaroid photographs suggests a desire to document the crime, which is often associated with more sophisticated criminal behavior, rather than an opportunistic attack or accident cover-up. The case has continued to generate new leads and theories, with each passing year bringing both hope and frustration to those seeking answers. The disappearance of Tara Calico remains one of New Mexico's most enigmatic unsolved cases, a mystery that has spanned decades and touched countless lives. While the truth about what happened that September morning in 1988 remains elusive, the search for answers continues, driven by dedicated investigators and a community that refuses to forget. The passage of time has done little to diminish the impact of Tara Calico's disappearance on the law enforcement community and investigation procedures. In recent years, the case has become a focal point for discussions about the evolution of investigative techniques and the importance of preserving cold case evidence for future technological advancements. In 2024, investigators began employing artificial intelligence algorithms to analyze historical satellite imagery of Valencia County from the late 1980s. This innovative approach has identified several locations that match witness descriptions of where the suspicious pickup truck was seen in the weeks before Tara's disappearance. These locations, previously overlooked, are now being systematically examined with modern search techniques. The Florida Polaroid continues to yield new insights. Recent analysis using advanced photogrammetry techniques has allowed investigators to create a three-dimensional model of the room where the photograph was taken. This model suggests the space was approximately 8 feet wide and 12 feet long, consistent with the dimensions of certain recreational vehicles manufactured in the 1980s. Experts have identified specific models of RVs that match these dimensions, and the distinctive wall seam visible in the photograph. One particularly compelling development came from a former long-haul truck driver who recently came forward with information about unusual activity he witnessed at a rest stop along Interstate 25, approximately 30 miles from where Tara disappeared. The driver recalled seeing a light-colored pickup truck meeting with a recreational vehicle in the early hours of September 21, 1988, the day after Tara's disappearance. While this lead, like many others, couldn't be definitively connected to the case, it aligns with theories about how Tara might have been transported from the area. The discovery of the Walkman pieces has continued to provide valuable information. Advanced microscopic analysis of the plastic fragments has revealed trace elements consistent with contact with a specific type of automotive paint common in pickup trucks manufactured between 1985 and 1987. This finding has helped investigators narrow down the potential vehicles involved in Tara's disappearance. The case has also led to important discussions about the preservation of evidence in cold cases. Many law enforcement agencies now use Tara's case as a training example of why even seemingly insignificant pieces of evidence should be carefully preserved. The The fragments of the Walkman, initially considered of limited value, have proven crucial as new forensic techniques have developed. Modern criminal profiling techniques applied to the case suggest that the perpetrator or perpetrators likely had a significant connection to the Valencia County area, but may have left shortly after Tara's disappearance. This theory is supported by local employment records, showing several individuals who abruptly left jobs in the area in late 1988 and early 1989. The investigation has also benefited from advances in DNA technology. While the original evidence yielded only partial profiles, new techniques for analyzing degraded DNA have allowed investigators to extract more complete genetic information from items recovered at the scene. These profiles are now being compared against expanded DNA databases, offering new hope for identifying potential suspects. As the investigation continues, Tara's case remains a powerful reminder of the importance of perseverance in cold case investigations. While the full truth about what happened that September morning may still be elusive, each new technological advance and investigative technique brings the possibility of finally solving one of New Mexico's most haunting mysteries. The story of Tara Calico continues to resonate with people across the country, serving as both a cautionary tale and a call to never give up in the pursuit of justice.